all these and more great wonders to see. From high on the mountain of old Mokami, they can talk of their cities, the riches untold, all the things that they bought with the silver and gold, all the gold that they had couldn't buy what I see. From high on the mountain of old Mokami.
What would Labrador be like without them days? Some of you here probably do remember a time before the magazine was published, but I dare say it would be difficult to imagine the last 50 years without it. I don't know what my life would look like. Them Days has been around, it'd been around for a decade by the time I was born. So I grew up seeing a shelf of white magazines in my home, in my grandparents' home, knowing the significance of it. I spent several of my growing up years in Nova Scotia, but I always felt very connected to Labrador because we always had Them Days. There was a copy of On the Goose on my dad's dresser, like a place of pride, along with Horace Gowdy's Trails to Remember and a map of Labrador. And so Them Days has always been there. When I was attending the University of Toronto, I used Them Days as a source in my essays to talk about home. I took a huge chance at applying for the editor position when I saw the job ad, when I was looking to move back home to Labrador. It was such an institution. It was so significant in my mind that I thought there was no way that I could get the job. And spoiler alert, the hiring committee felt the same way because I didn't get it. But a little while later, they took a chance on me, and I am ever so grateful. And so, like me, we've now had multiple generations grow up in Labrador who have always known a Labrador with a publication dedicated to its history. They have always known, because they've always been shown, that their voices matter, that the lived experiences of their families are important. That we might be far away from the places where decisions are made, but that doesn't mean we're to be forgotten or overlooked. And that's why we're here tonight, to celebrate all that has been since Them Days hit the streets 50 years ago. Those at the company of Young Canadians, the Old Timers League, and the Labrador Heritage Society who decided to record stories from the past and put them in the book.
Everybody's going through the trivia
Because it was just supposed to be a single book. Well, they really had a stroke of genius with that idea. All of what we are today is thanks to people like Joe Gowdy, Bella Brown, Isaac Rich, John Broomfield, and Selby Learning, who took that idea and put it into action. I'm sure they didn't think it would still be going in 2025. Through everything that the world has thrown at our little organization, we've persevered. I don't need to tell anyone, because I'm sure you already know, that most of that is due to another stroke of genius, the hiring of our very first editor, Doris Saunders, who took on the role with passion, pluck, and a see-it-through, get-her-done attitude. She kept going, even when there wasn't any money to pay her. And we also have thanks to other key people who have spent years of their lives seeing it through, people like Doris's daughter, Jillian, and Judy McGraw. Over the years, we've had dozens of board members, supporters, donors, employees, and volunteers who have also contributed greatly. I couldn't even attempt to name them, but I would like to give special mention to Patty Way, who has been a constant in my 17 years at Them Days, as has Linda Mugford. And now would be a good time to mention our current staff and board who are in attendance. So we have Edward Blake-Rudkowski, our chair, here, and Sam Saunders is also here, who is a board member. And I don't see anyone else. Am I forgetting? Okay. And we have our staff. We have Tracy Martin, who keeps us all in line with administrative duties. Heidi Adder has been with us part-time doing work on our 70s issue. Margaret Beare, who's one of our summer students. Adam Hill, who's our summer student. Taryn Wallace is a summer student. And Jonah Hancock just finished up yesterday. I've had a really great team. And so I've been very fortunate in the past year to be working closely with an ad hoc editorial committee for our 50th anniversary special issue, which will be our biggest ever, called Labrador in the 1970s. 3 out of the 4 committee members, Dave Lowe, Nigel Markham, and Bruce Burke, worked on the very earliest issues of them days. It's been a great honor and a dream, really. But really, how lucky are we that we have the support from the same people over the past 50 years? So we've got a lot on the go at them days this year, even beyond that project. I've got a great team working with me, as I've noticed, and I've declared it the summer of interviews. So we're hoping to get as many interviews as possible, getting to the heart of what we've done for the last 5 decades. We're working on a sports issue and also a comic book issue where artists will turn some classic Them Days stories into comic form or tell some new ones. We're also going to be working to turn some of our stories as well into animated YouTube videos. We're also going to finish several more audiobooks. Oh, and we're also in the middle of renovations. So the renos will improve several things about our office, from floors and lighting and new siding to opening up our reading room to improve the space for events. We're also going to be setting up an endowment fund that will help fill in the gaps of our funding to help see us through the next 50 years and beyond. If you want to support us, I urge you to make a donation or think about writing down some of your memories. Sit down with me or one of the other people in the office and tell us your stories. It's the greatest gift you can give us and generations to come. Thank you, everybody, for coming in.
And a boil up and a good cup of tea, and a fresh trout and some flummies. Oh, this is the life for me. We travel up Grand Lake in springtime, or head out for old Kinnamoo. We'll stop in at Northwest Islands and go on to Mulligan too. And the sun rises over the mountains, sparkles on snow-covered trees, or the moon on the calm still waters. Oh, this is the life for me. Oh, this is the life for me.
So I was putting together some thoughts as I was driving over here, and some thoughts I've been having for the past few months. And my thoughts kind of evolved around, is what is Them Days really about? What are we at? What are we trying to do? And of course, the obvious things are the magazine. We've been publishing for 50 years, four times a year, fantastic. That's one thing that comes to mind. The second thing is our archives. We had 2 researchers in there as recently as last week doing research in various books. Our archives are always open. We remain a storehouse of photos, knowledge that is accessible to the public. So those are the things that people know about when they think about Them Days. But if you look at sort of the view from 30,000 feet in the sort of macro view, what are we really doing? And I think what we're really doing is what we do is we give voice to our ancestors. You know, we maintain the channels of communication between the people who came before us. And we keep alive that communication. Even though those people are no longer here, we keep those channels open from them to us. And those channels flow stories and anecdotes and recipes and customs and pastimes. And that keeps coming back to us time and time again through them days. So we maintain that channel between us now and who we were. A few years ago, I had the very good fortune of attending a lecture which was given by an Ojibwe scholar who was a professor at the University of Minnesota. Fantastic. Went to it by pure fluke, one of the best things I've done in quite recent memory. And during his lecture, he covered a number of topics, but the one that really struck with me was he talked about the Ojibwe concept of word neen, N-I-I-N, neen. The literal translation of neen is me. It's I. That's what neen means in the Ojibwe language. But the Ojibwe look at it in a much broader context. They see you, they see me standing before you today, and they don't just see me. They see me as a manifestation of everyone who came before me. So they see me as a part of Cecil and Blake, as a part of Sylvia Blake, as a part of Elizabeth Groves, as a part of Frederick Rich, as a part of Mary Bishop. That's who I am. And all that is about me, that's me. That's the neen. I am a part of those that came before me. I had the opportunity, I'll go back for 1 second. So if you accept that version of I, then you have to also accept the fact that to know ourselves and to know myself, I have to know where I came from. And that's, again, where them days comes in, because we maintain all those histories and folklores. For a number of years, I had the very good fortune of working for an Indigenous government that put me in daily contact with people who no longer lived in their homeland. So I was constantly dealing with people who no longer lived in the areas where they grew up. And from that experience, I got to see firsthand the ravaging effects of what happens when people lose contact with who they are. When people lose contact with their culture, when people lose contact with their language, when people lose contact with their traditions, people get lost. And the evidence of that lost is all too apparent in the penal system, in the homeless shelters, and in the food banks. If there's one thing that them days can help do, if there's one thing that we can perhaps contribute on a greater societal level, is if we can channel our ancestors so people can see the neen in them and hopefully strengthen their own self-image so that they don't end up in those very challenging circumstances. So that's a very different story from the story of the magazine, and that's a great story and it's very valid, but there's a social message, there's a social component to what we do. And I think and we have the potential to save lives by maintaining our culture, by maintaining access to our traditions, and by maintaining access to our photographs. So there's a lot to celebrate 50 years. 50 years we've been doing this. I wasn't there when those decisions were made. You know, there's a group of visionaries, Aimee named them. There was a group of visionaries who sat together and said, hey man, we should be writing this stuff down. And it was a fantastic idea. So 50 years, we're here today to celebrate those 50 years. And the challenge we have before us, and the challenge, sort of the weight that I carry and the board of directors carries, is how do we honor that 50 years by ensuring that the last 50 becomes the next 50? And that's the challenge before us. We have a good thing going. We talk, you know, when you think the stories are exhausted, myself and Aimee have conversations, we come up with ideas, and, oh my gosh, wouldn't that make a great story? And those conversations are endless. It's a non-ending source of stories and inspirations and histories and customs. And we're going to need at least the next 50 to make it all happen. So there's a lot to be very proud of the work we've done. I think we have a huge social component to what we do. Many challenges to face in the upcoming 50 years. Our funding continues to be a sore spot for us. We've been getting the same grant from the provincial government for over 20 years. We just got a letter a couple weeks ago saying our grant's been renewed at the existing level. That's an ongoing fight. However, we're up to the task. And it's too important to fail, so we won't let it fail. Anyway, not going to leave on a sour note. It's all good. We do many good things. It's fantastic for you to be here. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for being a friend to them days. Thanks for being a friend to them days. And you know, whenever we have an issue, whenever we have a problem, we put something out. The support we get is simply overwhelming and heartwarming. So thank you to everyone here. This is probably the first in a series of events we're going to have over the course of the summer to celebrate our 50th year anniversary. So stay tuned. Keep us in your mind, and thanks again for all your support. Thank you.
And you head on down our way. Stove is lit and the kettle's on. You can stop here any day. There's music and there's laughter, and the troubles fade away. We'll talk about the good times, life in the good old days. We're all brothers on the river, here in Labrador. We're all brothers on the river, in our little cabin homes. If you find yourself in trouble, or just stop to say hello. We're all brothers on the river, here in Labrador. So we're all brothers on the river, here in Labrador. We're all brothers on the river, in our little cabin home. If you find yourself in trouble, or just stop to say hello. We're all brothers on the river, here in Labrador. We're all brothers on the river, here in Labrador. Thank you, Mark.